Have you ever really stopped to wonder what turns just a regular patch of earth into a holy place? I mean, what's the secret sauce? That's exactly what we're going to explore here. How does an ordinary piece of land become something sacred? So, really, what is it that makes a place holy? Is it, a grand building? Maybe a powerful story that's been told for centuries? Or is it something else entirely? Okay, so when I say sacred site, a lot of us probably picture something exactly like this, right? The incredible Jageshwar temples. It's obvious. This was built for worship, for reverence. It just looks sacred. But then, what about this? It's a field of ancient megaliths. No fancy carvings, no big domes. It's just stones in a field. And yet, this place is also profoundly sacred. So right away, that tells us the definition of holy has to be way, way bigger than just a building. And that's really the key here. Because when we talk about India, the answer isn't just in one temple or in one ancient field. Nope, it's written across the entire landscape. It's like the whole subcontinent is one giant sacred map. All right, so to really get how this works, we've got to unpack the core idea. Let's start with the basics. What does sacred even mean? Well, at its heart, sacredness is this quality of deep spiritual significance. But here's where it gets really interesting. The definition starts to stretch. It's not just a physical spot. It can be the journey you take to get there, or, as we're about to see, the land itself. And that journey, well, it has a name we all know: pilgrimage. Now, it's easy to think of it as just a trip to a holy place, but that's only half the story. It's really two journeys happening at the same time. One is the physical trek across the land, and the other is this huge, transformative journey happening inside you. This brings us to this absolutely beautiful concept from Sanskrit, tirtha. So literally, it just means a crossing place, like where you'd cross a river. But the symbolism is so much bigger. It's a place where you can cross from your ordinary, day-to-day life into a higher spiritual reality. It's less of a destination and more of a portal. And just to be clear, this idea of sacred places is absolutely not limited to just one faith. You see it everywhere, from the stunning Jama Masjid, which is a major center for Islam in India, to the peaceful Golden Temple, the spiritual heart of Sikhism. The whole landscape is just dotted with these powerful spiritual hubs for so many different beliefs. Okay, let's zoom in on the human side of this, because the act of pilgrimage, it's so much more than just travel. It's a tradition that has literally shaped the culture here for thousands of years. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. For at least 3,000 years, we're talking way before cars, trains, anything, people have been walking, crisscrossing this huge subcontinent on these sacred journeys, these tirthayatras, this constant movement of people. It's absolutely central to the story we're telling. And this wasn't just a historical footnote. It has this massive impact. Back in 1961, India's first prime minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, he was thinking about this exact thing. And he realized these pilgrimages weren't just religious. He saw them as the very threads that were weaving together the feeling of one single country, one culture. So how does that actually happen? Well, it's not random. It's all about connecting these sacred dots, creating what you could call a sacred geography.
So if you look at this map, you can start to see it. These holy sites, they're not just random isolated points. They form these intentional networks. A perfect example is the 4 Char Dham sites. They were set up in the 4 corners of India, literally encouraging people to travel the entire length and breadth of the country. And then you've got the 12 Jyotirlingas, these super important shrines to the deity Shiva, which create this whole other web across the landscape.
And then there's this really powerful story about the 51 Shakti Pithas. The legend goes that when the Divine Mother, Sati, passed away, her body parts fell from the heavens and landed all across the subcontinent. And every single place where a part of her landed became a hugely sacred shrine. Now, think about the implication of that story. It's profound. Through this one powerful narrative, the entire land of India is transformed. It's not just dirt and rocks anymore. It becomes the actual living, breathing body of the divine. But wait, it goes even deeper than that. It's not just about the specific spots where a shrine was built. The whole idea expands because nature itself is seen as divine. And this creates something you could call a sacred ecology. This ancient text, the Bhagavata Purana, just says it perfectly. It says that everything, the air, the water, the trees, the rivers, all of it, they're all just organs of the Supreme Lord's body. So the divine isn't something separate from nature, it is nature. You see this perfectly in the story of the Kumbh Mela. So the legend goes that the gods and demons were churning the cosmic ocean to get this nectar of immortality. To keep it safe, the god Vishnu grabbed the pitcher, the kumbha, and as he flew away with it, a few drops of that precious nectar fell down to earth, landing in 4 very specific river locations. And today, that ancient story is very much alive. Millions upon millions of people still gather at those 4 river spots for the Kumbh Mela. It's actually the largest peaceful gathering of human beings on the entire planet. I mean, it's so significant that it's now recognized by UNESCO as part of the intangible heritage of all of humanity. And you see the same reverence for nature in the tradition of sacred groves. Just look at all these different names. In Malayalam, they call it a kavu. In Marathi, it's a devarai. Over in the Khasi Hills, it's a clockantang. See? All across the country, there are dozens of different names. But the idea is exactly the same. It's a patch of forest that's protected, it's sacred, it's a home for the divine, and, as it happens, a crucial haven for biodiversity. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together now. You've got these ancient pilgrimages, this idea of a sacred geography, this deep reverence for nature. How does all of that actually weave a culture together? Well, it almost comes down to a simple formula. The paths that pilgrims walked were often the very same paths that merchants and traders used. So as people were moving back and forth, they weren't just carrying prayers or spices, they were carrying ideas, languages, stories, new ways of doing things. And this constant mixing of people on these shared roads, well, that became one of the biggest engines for creating a shared culture across the whole subcontinent. And all of this leaves us with one last big question to think about. In our modern world, which can feel pretty disconnected sometimes, what can this ancient idea of a sacred ecology, this worldview where the earth itself is divine and deserves our respect, what can that teach us about our own relationship with the planet today?